dear colleagues. I'm glad to present some results of our research. And first of all, I'd like to say that we are doing this research together with Vadim Potapenko, but he couldn't come to the conference, so he apologized for it. And as I promised in Glasgow, our investigation is dedicated to modeling interregional migration flows in Russia. And first of all, I'd like to say a few words in the beginning of my report about key features of interregional migration flows. As you can see, during the period from 2000 to 2010, the volume of internal migration in Russia decreased. But after 2011, the scale of internal migration has increased. And in 2011, the migration system of registration internal migrants in Russia changed. So, in result, without deep details, it became registered more internal migrants compared with previous years. And by 2017, the intensity of internal migration was equal 15 migrants per 1,000 inhabitants. What about the regional structure of internal migration in Russia? We have a long-term tendency of population migration from the most of the northern and eastern regions towards the western and southern regions. And on the map you can see 3 federal districts in circles which have the positive balance of internal migration. There are several reasons why do we need a forecast of migration flows between regions. The first one, to make a good demographic forecast, we need to know about migration balance by region. The volume of arrival and outgoing migrants influence the parameters of regional labor markets. Migrants affects infrastructure load, so it is important to know for regions and megacities how many people will come or outgoing from them. For example, for such resort cities like Sochi or maybe Crimea, it is a big difference between summer and winter, and for them it is important to know how many people will come because they need to forecast infrastructure load. And one of the social consequences of migration is redistribution of population incomes between regions due to the migration. So it's useful to know the size of such redistribution. That's why we are interested in modeling population migration in Russia. And a few words about different types of models of migration in Russia and maybe not in Russia. But in the beginning, I say a few words about the primary data of migration flows in Russia. So we have such square table which contains the information about migration flows between each pair of region. And we have such tables for every year from 2000 till 2017. So this figure concerns the migrants who changed the place of their living. So it's long-term migration during 1 year. And this huge data set allows us to modeling every migration flow. But the main question, how we are going to do this? The first class of models is factor trend models. There are different types of them. The positive aspects of this model is that they take into account a lot of factors of both the territory of arrival and the territory of disposal. But it is in theory, but in actually, if we work with time series of migration, it is not possible to take into account a lot of factors of migration because we have constraints. And the second problem, we need to make a lot of regression equations. So if we're modeling each flows between 85 regions, we need to estimate more than 7,000 equations. And it is a very huge task. The second group of models is evaluated on the structure-based database, and they also refer to the gravitational models. And the positive aspects of these models is that they take into account a lot of factors of migration of both the territory of arrival and the territory of disposal, such as economic factors, social, demographic, infrastructural, climatic factors, geographical, and others. And usually it is a small number of regression equations you need to evaluate it, one or maybe two. But the big negative feature of this class of models is that you can't use it for forecast of migration, because you have to need forecast values of all factors of migration included in the equation, and it is sometimes impossible. So several years ago, we tried to use factor trend equations for interregional migration, and we did it for federal districts. And it was a laborious task because we evaluated 64 regression equations, and each equation was built separately, not automatic. And besides, we have not a very long time series of migration. In our research with Vadim Potapenko, we decided to use another method of modeling interregional migration, and we tried to use the PATS method for migration flows, for modeling of migration flows. So most of you know this method, and I just described the equation, the main equation. The explained variables in these equations are incoming migration flows by regions. In the additive part, it is total internal migration in Russia, and in the multiplicative part, there are incomes per capita by regions. So from our point of view, it is incomes per capita is the most capacious and the most capacious factor of internal migration in Russia. So, due to this equation, we try to connect the distribution of migrants by region and the income per capita by region. What are advantages of this method? Such an approach is embedded into the model system of our institute. For example, we have a forecast of total migration flow from our model RIM. On the other hand, we have a forecast of income per capita by region from the multi-regional model norm. And on this database, we can forecast incoming migration flows by region and use this forecast for population forecast by region. And the number of equations being evaluated is equal to the number of regions, it's just 82 equations. But during the modeling, we have some difficulties. And first of all, as I already said, there was change, the methodology of accounting of internal migrants changed, and it broke the time series of migration. The other difficult that there are a lot of different types and forms of migration, and we mixed all forms together and try to explain them just by two factors of migration. But we have no other choice because we have no statistic on different types and forms of interregional migration. So our database consists of the time series of arrived population by region from 2011 to 2017, the dynamic series of income per capita by region, and the number of region is equal to 82. And some results of our modeling of interregional migration flows. On the slide you can see the first 12 regions with the highest level of incoming migration flows in Russia, and as you can see the fact and fitting incoming migration flows are close enough. So on the next slide you can see another 12 regions with the largest number of migrants arrived. On the next slide, there are total migration elasticities of the incoming migration flows by region, and as you can see, with the growing of total migration, the incoming migration flows are increasing, except two regions. But actually we expect that it would be more than two regions with the negative total migration elasticities. On the next slide, there are income per capita elasticities of the incoming migration flow by regions, and as ideally we expect that all regions will have positive income per capita elasticities, but actually 30 regions have the negative elasticities. And we suppose the main reason for this that there are another factors of migration which are dominating these regions, such as climatic factors, infrastructural and demographic factors and others. So we think that it is not very bad result. And we did this modeling of modeling migration flows primarily to forecast internal migration. And for these regions with negative elasticities, we can use just the additive part of migration, of regression. And for other regions, we can use all regression with additive and multiplicative part. So we are going to estimate, we are going to forecast not only the incoming migration flows, but also and outgoing migration by region, because we are going to embed this forecast in a regional demographic forecasting model, and we need to know the migration balance for each region. I said we have no statistics on another form of migration, but actually we have some statistics about the size and the regional structure of labor migration between regions. So we are going to use similar method to estimate, to modeling the labor migration flows between regions. And of course, as I said, it's for Russia it's a very important question of income per capita redistribution between regions due to the migration, so we are going to assess the scale of this redistribution. And next time, I hope we present you some results of demographic forecasting model with the block of modeling internal migration. So I hope we do this. Thank you very much.
Other questions and comments?
Ekaterina, thank you very much for very interesting presentation. My question is about slide number 15. I can see on the graph that, on my opinion, the biggest difference between the fact and forecast in Khanty-Mansiysk district of Russian Federation. How do you think, which factors leads to this difference in Khanty-Mansiysk district or in other regions like Altai?
Yes, maybe, as I said, there are another factors of migration, not only just income per capita. And there are a lot of other factors, and we understand this, but we just try to model one factor of migration, and it's for this region, it is not a very good factor.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's really nice. I have two comments. One is about the elasticity. I did a work not using the same methodology, but the same idea of estimate migration model, internal migration model. And what's happened there that we found the relation between migration in-migration and income with a negative sign. So what you expect that the higher the income of a region, more people is coming. And in the case of Mexico, we saw both sides. So people going to one region and people living somewhere. Yes. And what we found that in the poorest region, when the income goes up, the people left the region to another region with higher income, and so that sign dominates the sign. So what we did for identify this process is that we estimate the migration flow as relative income between the origin and destination, and the income at the destination by itself. So we separate these two each other. When the relative income was higher, then the people has more money to go, and the effects of the absolute income separate the other effects, the wealth effects. So the poor people doesn't migrate or do not migrate because they don't have the money to pay the ticket or the cost. If the income goes up, then they reach the threshold to do, and you find this negative elasticity. So I guess that's the region that has negative elasticity are the poorest one.
Not all of them, but some, yes.
When I mean the poor, it's not the poor. For example, in Chile, one of the richest regions in terms of production have the poorest people in terms of income. I mean, this kind of people, the poorest people, that people leave those regions when the income of the region goes up.
Yes, we have such effect in Russia in some regions. And
the reason is because in those regions that normally associate to natural resource exploitation, when the economy goes well, the price tends to be higher, the price of living there. So the poorest people try to leave those regions. And the other suggestion is about you present a matrix at the beginning, a transition matrix.
The data of migration.
Yes.
Yes. It's
that one.
yes.
And there is a methodology that you didn't put in your revision that might be helpful, is that because every number there is a flow, but that flow doesn't have the same meaning. For example, if people going from region 1 to region 2 are 1,000, and people going from region 1 to region 2 also are 1,000, but the region 2 have 10 times more people than region 3, it means that region 3 is more attractive than region 2. So it's one thing that the people that is using the gravity model for migration flow is instead of predicting the flows, they predicting the probability to go from one region to another. So all the dependent variable, the probability to go from one region to another, are comparable. While you use, in this case, difference flows, though those flows are not necessarily comparable because they have different meaning, even though they might be the same number. Okay.
Thank you very much, and we understand that we can't compare these volumes of migrants.
Other comments?
This question is only for interest's sake. What is your external immigration? Is it big? Is it small? Go the people out, come they in?
Nobody actually knows how many internal external migrants in Russia, but we have some assessment about maybe 10 million, maybe 14 million, but really actually we don't know. But the official data is about 5 million people in Russia.
Well, maybe I simply didn't catch it. Could you go back to the slide, the picture with feeding and actual trends? Well, please, could you repeat, how do you feed? What method do you use?
So we estimate.
Estimation, statistical estimate.
No, we use this regression.
Yeah.
And on the basis of these regressions, we get the fitting.
And how many observations for each estimation?
We have dynamic series of arrival population from the 2011 to 2017.
2011, 2017. By the years, is it panel model or simple dynamic?
Dynamic series.
Four observations. And I see that.
So we use it like a panel structure.
Panel.
Yes.
Yeah, and how many observations?
So 6 years and 7 years and 82 regions.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I agree with things like that. But I see that quality is not good in each case. And so this is the question of quality of your forecast. Maybe you could use different models for different type of regions to fit it better.
Yes, it's one possible solution of this.
Maybe so.
This.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, if not, thank you very much, Ekaterina, and we close the session. Thank you.